What's up, y'all? So I want to bring something that I think they trying out and down there in DC, and I think they gonna press the button nationwide, right, to really kind of bring out the like the Boston Tea Party kind of revolutionary Civil War kind of vibe. But like, let's check this out. Hold on. Let's see.
I would like to give a big up to all my subs and supporters who like, comment, and share the videos. In addition, a special big up to all those who purchased my masterpiece, my book, The N-Word is No Secret in the Service. Big up to you all. Let's cook. Okay, people, I've covered many topics about Washington, D.C. on this channel, and that's because D.C., the District of Columbia, is a terrible situation for its Black residents. If you ever go to Washington, D.C., you can see the segregation there. It's very obvious what place that they want Black people to be in. You would think that it's the year 1920 if you're really paying attention. That's how it is, man. That's what's going on right now. Oh, my D.C. people who watch the videos, I used to have a boot camp over there on at Meridian Hill Park, Malcolm X Park, as it's called, on 16th Street. You all know. Yeah, I used to have a group fitness boot camp over there. Anyway, people, it's amazing what you see when you walk around in Washington, D.C. with your eyes open and understand what's really going on. And it would actually make you sad. As a black person in America, it'll really make you sad. Now, I often go on a finance site called Wallet Hub to get information. A lot of people use this site, Wallet Hub, because it's very reputable. And according to Wallet Hub, people, the District of Columbia emerged as the most financially unequal place to live, with white residents out-earning their Black counterparts by approximately 66%. People, that's 66%. That means that if a Black person owns $20, a white resident earns almost about 50 just because they're white. And if you think education has something to do with it, go watch my other video on unemployment in Washington, D.C. We already plugged that hole for you. You cannot weasel through that with making excuses for this right here. That's not the reason why, okay?
Hey, shout out to this dude right here. Y'all go subscribe to Runaway Slave 2.0. Right? He got some vicious, excellent videos over there. Epic. Got to check him out. Go subscribe.
In Washington, D.C., people, Black residents have a poverty rate over 359% higher than their white counterparts. Black Washington, D.C. residents are approximately 488% more likely to be unemployed compared to their white counterparts, okay? With these type of numbers, okay, what are you gonna have? You're gonna have crime, high crime. First is a city, and whenever you have residents in a city who don't have what they need year after year, they're gonna be major crime. Broken families, mental illness, poor nutrition, terrible schools, all kinds of things, people, all kinds of things. And this is all by design. White supremacists, they plan these things ahead of time. Don't ever think that this stuff just happened, it just popped up. No, they plan these things, okay? DC has always been high in crime. In the year of 1991, I believe DC had the murder high. Maybe other years besides that also, but DC has always had a violence and drug problem, okay? And the primary victims of this crime have always been Black people, okay? Black residents in DC have been the primary victims of violent crime in the District of Columbia. Crime is nothing new to Washington, D.C., and the Black community has always suffered from this, okay? Now, when all these Black D.C. residents, year after year, right, they've been getting victimized by crime, Black D.C. residents who wake up and want to earn an honest living have been victimized by crime, You never seen these people take any extensive measures to ensure the safety of the residents in Washington, D.C., okay? They never took extreme measures or extensive measures to make sure that the residents in the ghettos in Washington, D.C., the ghettos that these white supremacists created by design, were safe. They never did that, okay? They never did that. See, the thing is, DC, Washington, D.C. is segregated. So the crime in Washington, D.C. has typically stayed in the black neighborhoods. And that's what they want. That's what they want. So what's happening now is the crime is starting to trickle into the white neighborhoods. White people are being victimized more. White stores are now being victimized more, okay? These white folks who once lived comfortably in their little segregated neighborhoods, now they're getting scared. These white liberals, okay? Now they're getting scared.
Look at the Masonic. Look at the Masonic hand sign. Right? Dude doing the triangle, holding his belt. That hand over fist. That's another way to do the hidden hand. Right? You could tuck it in your jacket, but that's kind of super obvious. So sometimes they'll hide it behind the upper hand, the hidden hand.
Now they're being concerned about crime, but they never did before. Okay? They never did before because in their white minds, black people do not have the same access, shouldn't even have the same access to humanity that they have. And these people, these are the white liberals, man. These are the people that black people, we kiss the white off their butt. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, what's also going on in Washington, D.C., people, is Washington, D.C. is gentrification on steroids, okay? Washington, D.C. has white transplant yuppies moving in by the thousands every month, at least 1,000 a month or more. And the goal for Washington, D.C., what the politicians there want is they just want a white oasis for white D.C. They want a white oasis full of dog parks and yoga studios and same gender couples, 2 men pushing a baby in a stroller and 2 women. That's what they want, man. Just white peopling. That's what they want. That's what these white liberals want in Washington, D.C., okay? They don't want black people there. They want all the black people out. And the only time they want to see black people in Washington, D.C. is if they serving them at Starbucks in a servitude position or at like the Washington National Stadium handing out popcorns and peanuts. That's all Washington, D.C. wants for its black residents, okay? So in order to protect these white people in Washington, D.C., and ultimately have them fulfill their dreams of their white oasis, in comes your black girl Madrick, your Karen with a tan, your chocolate dip cracker, this chick right here, Muriel Bowser, a straight Satanist, people. In comes Muriel Bowser. She's one of these Negroes that these black folks, I'm not saying all the residents in D.C., but in general, black people, us in general, are so proud of. Call people like this black excellence and black girls rock, put these Negroes on the cover of magazines and things like that. Remember she unveiled that Black Lives Matter Plaza in D.C. and people just went nuts, okay? Remember she did that? She doesn't respect black people, and she knows that the majority of us are so beaten down and ignorant and confused that people like her could just feed us any symbolic victory, okay? Since they know that typically this is what has satisfied black people in America through the years. As long as you sprinkle some black on it, it warms our little emotions, and that's usually been good enough. We don't care. We just want to smell the food. We don't got to eat it, okay? Pretty much this is what all these propped up, shine bone Negro politicians do, and that's what they've always did.
Hey man, this dude need an award. This dude need an award.
Talking down the black people on those faith-based. Talking down the black people.
And yes, I wholeheartedly agree with what Jesse Jackson said. You want to cut his nuts off. This man did nothing but talk down to black people, and we'll sit there and applaud it. But that's what goes on. That's a whole nother. But add Muriel Bowser to that list, okay? She does the same thing, okay? So in order to protect the white community and white,
you see that haircut? I think Bowser's a dominant person. I think she, with them Nikes, catch my drift. You know, alphabet boy, alphabet, community.
Washington, D.C., and further oppress the Black community. This Muriel Bowser person, she plans to implement these new.
This is like Willie Lynch, Jim Crow, right? This is Willie Lynch, Jim Crow.
Gestapo-type Gaza Strip lynching laws for the Black residents in D.C., okay? Here's what they plan to do. It's called the Bowser-Pinto Plan. And this Pinto person is a council member who is the chair of the Committee on the Judiciary and Public Safety Board. Her name is Brooke Pinto, this bozo, whatever. This is what they plan to do. So people, they're calling this the Bowser-Pinto Plan. And this is what they think is going to improve safety. But when you listen to this, all it's doing is creating a lot of gray areas. It's creating a lot of opportunities for police officers to use officer discretion. And we know that gray areas, and when they say officer discretion, is usually manifested in racism, okay? Race soldier work. Now let's talk about it a little bit. They're criminalizing face coverings. This is what they said. Any items worn that cover most of the face are now criminalized, with detention or arrest as the penalty. This includes, but is not limited to, hoodies, bandanas, hijabs. The police will be the on which face coverings are allowable. That's hijabs as well, people. So the Muslim sister, if you're wearing a hijab, okay, they want to get rid of that. If you're out, it's cold, somebody, you might want to wear a scarf on your face. I don't know, you may be at the metro station, man, woman, whatever. The police can use their discretion and decide whether or not it's allowable. Depends on their feelings, okay? It doesn't stop. Gatherings of 2 or more people will now be criminalized. The police can now designate any neighborhood as high risk, allowing them to arrest innocent people for gatherings in groups of 2 or more. If police suspect they might commit a crime, they can be fined or imprisoned. That's one of the second ones. Number 3, killing car chase suspects is now legal. Police.
Just let that sink in. How do you start, okay? How do you start a sentence with killing? Police can now kill. Like, how do you, whatever you say after that is like, wah-wah. You start your sentence off with killing in big bold letters. Right? Now. Killing now. Police can now kill, right? You see what?
Can now kill suspects during car chases, a practice that is currently banned. The police will become the sole decision maker about life and death, regardless.
Damn. So they done flat out told you the police can decide whether you live or die. DC, 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 DC.
Regardless of guilt or innocence.
Damn,
Number 4.
Regardless of guilt. You could be cold-blooded innocent. If they decided to delete you, it was legal. This is what Bowser trying to do.
Body camera restrictions removed. The plan will overturn current policy that prohibits the police from viewing their body camera footage before they write statements. This has nothing to do with lowering the crime rate, people. Not at all. So basically, it's giving them the opportunity to lie, to create false stories and narratives, and to change things around.
That's just too obvious. Like, damn, like you exposing that now this is ridiculous. Like, this is too obvious.
I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Next, discarding a gun would now be a crime. If you illegally possess a gun, which is already a crime, the moment that you drop the gun or put the bullets down, you've committed 2 additional crimes. So if you keep holding the gun, you'll get shot by the police. And if you drop the gun, you're now getting a longer sentence. Okay. Show your papers, Metro law. The police would.
I told y'all, Willie Lynch, Jim Crow. Willie Lynch, Jim Crow. I'm telling you, that federal district, man.
Will now be able to immediately arrest anyone suspected of misconduct while riding the metro who refuses to share their name and home address. For instance, if a plainclothes officer demanded your address on the metro, not telling them now could lead to your arrest. Active duty status of officer.
That show your papers. Let me go back. You see why I say show your papers in parentheses, because that's something that went on in Germany when, you know, those guys did that atrocity they did. You know, the Germany, who they did it to with the you know, swastika boy. You know what I mean? That was one of the things. They could roll up on you and be like, let me see your paperwork. But this also comes from, I think they got this from Jim Crow, Willie Lynch. These are slave papers. Show me your slave papers. Show me that you a free man. Show me that you a free man.
Those officers demanded your address on the metro, not telling them now could lead to your arrest. Active duty status of officers is now secret. The public will no longer be able to know if an officer who was found to have engaged in misconduct is still active duty or not. Again, active duty status of officers is now a secret. The public will no longer be able to know if an officer who was found to have engaged in misconduct is still on active duty or not.
That don't sound like a police state to you?
Fear is now cause for arrest. Anyone
Bruh, this ain't Willie Lynch, Jim Crow. This ain't segregation all over again.
wearing any item that covers most of the face who causes another person to feel afraid can now be arrested regardless of the person's actions. So basically, a white person says they scared, they can arrest you. So people, there you go. Those are the new laws that they will implement to oppress Black residents. It does not matter if you're a teenager out there doing a crime or somebody who's just trying to make it and go to work, they will use these against you. It just creates more gray areas to justify police racism. That's it, okay? Anytime you hear the words discretion or something that gives a police officer more discretion, that means that they're going to use that to exercise racism. That's it. They'll be harassing all kinds of Black people, and that's what they're going to do. Now, for the cowards out there, let me get the cowards out there. There are a lot of Black people saying, well, the crime is so bad here, they got to do something about it. Something has to be done. Oh, it's affecting us too. Listen, people, the crime in DC has been bad for Black people since. Okay, you see it. So the crime in Washington, D.C. has been bad for Black people for how long? Black D.C. residents have been the primary victims of crime for how long? I think we all agree on that, okay? So to get something straight, any of you Negroes who want to reason around and say things like, well, it's bad, we just got to do this, we got to just do this now to get it straight because we Black people, we suffering too. That's you being a coward. If it was about Black people suffering, they would have did this way back in 1991, in 1997, in the year 2000. Stop being a coward. And I know you're looking for an out, okay? Black people have been suffering in DC and there have never been any extreme measures taken to do anything, okay? So all the statements, you know, that we got to hear our own people make statements like, oh, well, they doing this too, and, you know, we being victim, get out of here. Okay. And you got a lot of, you know, these Negroes who feel like since they're not the ones out there doing that, since they're, you know, good citizens and their children aren't out there, or we got our kids in Catholic private school, whatever, they're not out there doing the carjacking. You think you're okay? Not at all. Not at all. And you know what always happens to you people who think like this anyway, them white folks will soon put you and your children in your place soon. You know what I mean? Negroes who make little statements like that, you know, and try to justify these things because, oh, that's what they got to do now. You know, you're going to eat your words soon. You always do. You always do. You want to be a special, I tuck my shirt in type Negro and have a smile. Nothing's going to happen to me. And it usually comes on your children, though. That's the bad part about it. Because you shuck and yuck shine bones in your mentality. You don't see what's really going on. You know what I mean? Now, back to these white supremacists, man. What's really sickening to me about what they do that we can't often pick up on is they create these issues and they oppress black people to their own benefit. They create these ghettos, okay? Then they try to act dumbfounded in the future like they don't know what happened. And they want to take extreme measures to further oppress the black people, like what's going on in Washington, D.C. now, okay? You know what I'm saying? This is what these white supremacists do. And people, I don't need to hear the whole, well, Muriel Bowser is black nonsense. This lady, she's a chocolate dip cracker. She's a white supremacist with a tan. We've been here long enough to know that all these Negroes that they prop up and put in these positions, these guys, now you have this wave of a lot of black mayors in the United States. You got homosexual male black mayors. You got a lot of single black women with no husband, you know, or you got these typical weak buck and dance, shuck and yuck, shine bone Negro mayors that the liberal, the Democrat Party likes to put up. Listen, if you ain't up on this now, you know, if you ain't up on this black tokenism in 2024, you don't understand what's going on and know that somebody like Muriel Bowser is there for white people. You belong on the show. You gotta grow up, man. So what these white supremacists do is they create these oppressive living conditions for the sole purpose of improving their quality of life. Then this goes on. They do this. Then the entire generation of black people who witnessed this at the beginning, they die off. They die off. Then since a lot of times they usually don't teach their children what's going on, they got to work hard. You know, they got to work overtime just to survive. By the time they do have time, they just tired, exhausted. They just want to lay back and just watch TV. And the schools that these children go to for years, they bamboozle them. They don't teach them anything about their history. And they have these kids and these grandchildren that have no clue what happened. So they start thinking that the problem is them, you know, and then they need to do something about it. It's a black problem. And when this problem started with their grandparents and their great-grandparents being oppressed by these same white supremacists who are still there, okay? Well, you know, their grandkids, they keep it going. See, these white supremacists, what happens is they benefit, you know, from black people dying off and having confused offspring, okay? Then they give these black people some old confused, you know, you get some old black liberal that comes up with some patch program. They hire some black people to run it and they act as if they're doing something to improve, you know, what's really going on. They're not doing anything. Then they act like, oh, it came from this group of white people. They're not doing anything. It goes on and on and on. These are the white people who started it. But what's crazy about Washington, D.C. is this right here happens so fast that the grandparents and the great-grandparents, a lot of them are still alive. Like these kids running around, wilding out, doing what they do, doing flash mobs in stores, 16, 17, 13, 14. Their grandparents, a lot of them, ain't even.
See, this is why I think, you know, this Muriel Bowser chick, I think she part of the LGBTQXIJK elemental peak, right? Because, you know, Black Lives Matter founded by 3 LGBT elemental Q peak, right? All 3 of them was, you know, switch hitters, as we used to say. So the fact that she went so hard with this, and then when she put this Black Lives Matter street at, is right in front of the White House. It's right in front of the White House. Like the church right there in front of the White House, Catholic church, right? The president's church, that's a Catholic church right there. Right where that yellow building with that cross, that's a Catholic church. Damn near let's just say it's on the grounds. When I say it's on the grounds, it's on the grounds of the White House.
Even 50 great-grandparents, like 60, a lot of them. So People, it happens so fast in Washington, D.C. that it hasn't even really been, you know, all these, like what's going on right now. Of course, I'm not talking about before.
I bet she in one of them sororities. She just got the look all over of Boule. So I'm putting that out there. Muriel Bowser is Boule. Notice the EL at the end of her name. Murray, meaning Maury, right? Moore, L, Muriel, Lemuria, Mu, Moore, Muur, right? The Moroccan Treaty.
But like it happened so fast that you seen this, like these great grandparents, if they're not in prison, or I'm not saying they all alive, but it happened. What I'm saying is it happened very fast, man. It happened very fast. So where you could just see it. You could just see it, man.
Look, that St. John's Church, right? You see Trump, that's like, it's on the White House grounds. You could damn near throw a rock from the church to the fucking White House. Right? Like, but it's Catholic though. Not Christian, but it's Catholic.
Man, I didn't get to that area until the year 2006. And you could just see how fast it happened. Yo, it was crazy. You know, so these kids out there, you know, who are just wilding out, carjacking, you know, doing all kinds of flash mobs. And, you know, these are the grandchildren and the great grandchildren of the kids who, of the black people who had opportunities blocked from them. Their grandparents didn't have their opportunities in DC. Their grandparents didn't have good jobs. They couldn't join the union. They were harassed by the police. Their grandparents were blocked from home ownership. Look, all this time they had black people thinking that they couldn't own land in Washington, D.C. because of what they did to black people before. These are their grandparents and their great-grandparents who were blocked. It's not about these kids right here. These kids are doing what anybody else would do when they have to wake up every day with nothing and see other people shining, flossing, flexing, you know, the white community living great. This is what happens. There's nowhere in the world where the youth won't do this. You have an entire other community of people who don't look like you. You struggling and suffering. And you also got issues too. You might be special ed, mental issues through the years, you know, family issues, whatever. You see these people in this whole nother world having everything, getting everything. What you think gonna happen, man? Come on, that's normal, that's life. That's what's gonna happen. If you turn the tables, white people would be doing the same thing to black people. They created this, man. They created this. You can't even do that around black people. Black people, do you think you could live in a neighborhood with a bunch of poor black people? You showing up every day driving a Tesla with a yoga mat and a puppy, kissing your dog in the mouth, looking happy, you know, statues in front of your house and all kind of stuff. And you got black people in your, man, black people will eat you up. Black people will eat black people up for that. Black people will eat you up. I mean, listen, so what makes these white folks think that they are going to be exempt? Now, I don't want these children out here doing this because, I mean, they're dying too. They're going to prison, you know. This is what but the thing about it is, how is this not normal behavior? This is normal behavior. Anytime you have oppressed poor youth who don't have what they need, and you have other people sitting around living great, they're going to eventually start to eat them up. That's why when I see these flash mobs in these stores, people going in Apple stores, ripping up phones, I ain't condoning that, man, but I don't care, man. You have people, y'all got to do that. Man, I don't care, man. What you think they supposed to do? That's life. All of a sudden, black people doing it's not like white people do that and more. They done what white people will go somewhere where it's an entire civilization of people and not have anything and kill everybody and take it. This is real history. You talking about some black kids in DC.
The best way to make money online is dropshipping.
Boo this man.
People who've been oppressed for generation after generation. Come on, man. Come on, man. They created these issues and now they want to take drastic measures or extreme measures that include oppressing black people to fix it. And people agree with this mess because it appears as though black people started these issues. Whenever there's an issue with black people, everybody want to become dumb. They want to act like these issues don't brew and cook for years before it turns into this. Now nobody could do science anymore. Now nobody knows anything about cause and effect. Oh, they want to become dumb now. Then they like, oh, we got to do something. As if this problem started last month or last year. You know what I mean? I mean, these people have been running this same racist okie doke for many years. They create ghettos. Then when things get out of hand, they want to switch up and act like, you know, and have an excuse for their sinister deeds. They say, oh, look at them black people. We got to fix that. But just like they want to take these extreme measures to fix these issues so that these white people in Washington, D.C. can feel secure and happy in their oasis, they can take those same extreme measures to fix this problem at the core, people. They know what it is. And that's black people being denied the things that they need. Not that they want, that they need. I don't need to hear any isolated stories about your little stupid cousin that you want to talk about who just want to do crime and he had this and he just want to go out there and do this. And I don't need to hear that. There are always going to be bad people or dark-hearted people or lazy people in all walks of life who want to go out and do ignorant things. That's not the totality of the problem, what's going on with black people in DC and many other places. That's not it. So you get out of here with that nonsense. It's because black people, for year after year after year, were denied the things that they need. Look at this extreme thing that this Karen, this Muriel Bowser is trying to do. Extreme. So that means that they can go extreme to fix the real issues here, but they don't want to do that. They want to further just oppress black people, okay? That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. They want to further oppress black people instead of fixing this problem at the core. And they can fix it, people. And they can fix it.
So, what y'all think about that? Right? Yeah, I saw them plans. Right, what was it? I mean, well, you saw them, right? You can't wear a hijab. You can't be walking with the family. You and your family could be walking. They can kill you, regardless of guilt or innocence. What was that one? What was that? A body cam. Body cam. They can see the body cam before they write a statement, so that the statement match the body cam. If you drop the gun, you get a longer sentence than just even having the gun. This is the worst one, if you ask me. This right here is the worst one, if you ask me. That's crazy right there. That's crazy right there. Show your papers. Right? Let's see.
The wealth of, when we talk about the wealth of the South, we're talking about wealth in enslaved human beings. In fact, those enslaved human beings in the pre-Civil War period range, depending on the year, between 15 and 20% of the total wealth in the U.S. That means that enslaved people are worth more than all the factories, all the stocks and bonds, and all the currency combined. In the 1850s, an enslaved young man about 18, 19, 20 years old in New Orleans goes for anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500. If we account for inflation, that $1,000 to $1,500 actually is equivalent to about $230,000 to $250,000. It's a ton of money.
And they are sold with no particular consideration to parentage.
You can't tell me to leave my family. I ain't going nowhere for you. You understand me?
There are very, very few cases where it disturbs the property relation. Men might acknowledge the biological tie, but they don't often recognize the kinship tie.
Thank you. Your Chicken George has skill.
As one gentleman to another, I'd like to buy the boy from you.
Because slavery is so central to their economies.
So they get you straight to roots. The U.S. owes $350,000 to every Black American. Shit, I would say with the price of inflation, let's call it $3 million. Call it even. Oh, it's real funny. Ain't nothing coming up about the slave papers, right? That's real funny. I may have to bring out a deep video, a deeper dive pre-record on that. Cause it looked like they done scrubbed some shit.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Let's Teach channel, where we research the question, who is Willie Lynch? A white slave owner in the West Indies who was summoned to Virginia in 1712 due to slave revolts in the area. Because of his reputation as an authoritarian and strict slave master, he was perceived as the person best suited to help quash the uprisings. Legend has it that Lynch stood on the banks of the James River in Virginia and delivered a speech to fellow slave owners in which he gave advice on how they can solve their slave problems. According to him, the secret to controlling Black slaves was to set them against one another, taking advantage of their differences to promote conflict among them. This method, he said, would ensure that the slaves would be controlled for at least 300 more years. Part of Lynch's speech read, "I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South." Lynch went on to say that he exploited the age and color of slaves, using these attributes to sow discord among them. To outline this method, he said, "Don't forget, you must pitch the old Black male versus the young Black male, and the young Black male against the old Black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all Blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us." The full text of this speech was first published sometime in 1970, entitled "The Making of a Slave." However, widespread awareness of it only came during the Million Man March in October 1995, when Louis Farrakhan, a renowned religious leader and political activist, quoted a few parts of it to emphasize the lingering effects of slavery in the United States. In particular, he said, "We as a people now have been fractured, divided, and destroyed, filled with fear, distrust, and envy. Therefore, because of fear, envy, and distrust of one another, many of us as leaders, teachers, educators, pastors, and persons are still under the control mechanism of our former slave masters and their children." The Making of a Slave is certainly impactful and controversial. However, many historians doubt its legitimacy. For one thing, they point out that it contains a lot of anachronisms, such as the words foolproof and refueling, which were only used in the early 20th century. Well, that's it for this video.
Dallas County.
I ain't talking about the slave papers, but I'm gonna bring y'all that video, cause they got
the ripe age of 102, you must have had some interesting experiences. Tell us one of them when you were a little girl.
Yes. Well, when I was a little girl in slave days, I always had something to do every day. Every day. We didn't have time to play very much at all. I myself was in the house for most of the time. And days like this, while we were outdoors, pulling up weeds or picking up feathers where the chickens would all make them through the yard, or every day. And in cloudy days, while we were in the house, they had a big pan of sand, silver fan and an old slipper, scrubbing up the floor in the big dining room where they ate the meal.
Mr. Haney, where did you live as a slave?
I was a slave all my life.
Where did you live?
I told you where I lived, but in Washington.
Where did you live before Washington?
I told you.
See, it wasn't that long ago. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. You know, about this police state. I think they're gonna take this nationwide. You know, once they're gonna run this in all the black cities. So, man, y'all be on the lookout. Be careful out there. Know what's going on in your town. Stay safe. Peace and love, man. I'm out of here.